We were arriving at the Peace House an hour late. Julio, Brenda, and I bumped and slid through the torrential rain of the 8-day-old tropical depression that had settled over western Nicaragua. Slowly negotiating the washed-out road from Leon to Chacra Seca in a battered old truck, we found that the women were already there, waiting for us, with the patience that people living in extreme poverty develop in order to survive. We knew Berta and Elba had sludged through more than 4 miles of muddy fields to be with us. Nellie, Mei-Ling equally as far. Conchita and Juana had been forced by roads turned to rivers to walk to the Peace House a new way, adding 2 miles to their already long journey. But there they all were, delighted to see us, filled with anticipation to learn new skills, to get new ideas, to share with one another and with friends from another country. Their smiles signaled their eagerness to learn something that might equip them to earn a few precious dollars to help feed and clothe their children. That hope had driven the women to walk miles in the rain, some carrying their sewing machines with them. The kind of stubborn hope that refuses to be defined by poverty or discouraged by tropical depressions. The kind of hope that dreams big, then rises before dawn, walks for miles, and labors late into the night pursuing those dreams.
Just Hope's reason for being is to nurture that kind of stubborn hope by accompanying the women and men who embody it. At Just Hope, we envision a world interconnected by global partnerships that are seeking justice, accompanying hope, and nurturing community. And our mission is to develop and resource those kinds of global partnerships between communities in the U.S. and communities in Nicaragua.
Those 4 days in Chacra Seca, Nicaragua were the beginning of a new project, Stitching Hope. Stitching Hope is a chance for North American partners to make a difference in the lives of critically poor women in Nicaragua and the families who depend on them. By supporting the birthing of the Stitching Hope Center for Fabric Arts and Sewing, you will assist women in Chacra Seca, Nicaragua in the development of a multifaceted enterprise which will enable them to work together, creating both fabric art items for export and utilitarian items for local sale.
Chacra Seca, which means dried up banana farm, is a 50-square-mile rural community with 8,000 residents, most of whom are subsistence farmers. Over 50% of households in Chacra Seca are headed by women, and yet few women own the land on which they live. Unemployment is over 90%, which means women often have to leave their children to go to the city to work as domestics or in sweatshops. The average income in Chacra Seca is $2 per day. The average income for women is far below that, and the cultural norm of machismo makes the grinding poverty even more difficult to overcome. Women in Chacra Seca often find themselves trapped in abusive situations because they do not own land, usually have little or no education, and don't have the resources to choose another alternative. Young women in Chacra Seca have a difficult time imagining options for their future and often end up pregnant at very young age.
And yet, these women are not interested in handouts. They want partners who will work mutually with them to address the needs of their critically poor community. "What do you dream about?" we asked the women as we shared a simple lunch of beans and rice. "I dream about a roof that doesn't leak in the rain, about having enough to eat when the rains destroy my corn, and about being able to send my daughter to college."
For years, women in Chacra Seca have dreamed of creating a small factory-type enterprise in their community where they could make items they could sell in the local market. Other women have experimented with making purses, bags, aprons, and other items that are sold to tourists and visiting groups. All of them are attempting their work with no training and very poor equipment. Stitching Hope will create a center where women can come and work with quality machines and adequate materials. It will also provide training for the women, equipping them with the business and financial tools they will need to market their products and run their business.
The women were reluctant to leave after the first day of the sewing workshop. In just 4 short hours, they had learned new tricks of their developing trade and experimented with new ideas. They had played with fabric and imagined designs. And somewhere in the midst of it all, their hope had begun to take the concrete shape of a beautiful clergy stole. They were excited, and their confidence was growing.
Early December brought another workshop. 2 gently used sewing machines had been acquired. A silk screen press was donated. And now, with just 7 days of training, the women felt empowered and excited. Their imaginations had been stimulated. They had sharpened their skills, and they had actually sold some of their new art. But with the added equipment and more supplies to manage, the old suitcases they were using to store their stuff were bulging. The closet, which would be home for the new machines, was musty and cramped, with numerous holes through which Chakraseka's volcanic dust quickly covered everything.
"We need a building in which to work," everybody agreed. "It's so much better when we work together than when we are isolated in our homes. We can share ideas and resources. We can teach each other new tricks," they said with a new sense of pride and confidence. "We can invite other women to come and learn and grow with us." The students were beginning to think like teachers.
When we dream alone, Dom Helder Camara reminds us, it remains only a dream. But when we dream together, it is the beginning of reality. Just Hope invites you to join the dreaming together that has already started stitching hope into reality in Chakraseka.
Dreaming that will turn a field into a fair trade sewing and art center. Dreaming that will teach new skills, nurture more confidence, and help put bread on tables. Dreaming that will give hands and feet to the hope these women have borne in their hearts for years. It can be the beginning of reality.